Hello there. So today we're gonna talk hypermobility. I know that most of the time here we talk about flexibility and mobility and how much more we need of that because we are struggling with like tight hips and tight shoulders. Um, the thing is that yes, if you have tight hips, you compensate somewhere. If you have tight shoulders, you compensate somewhere. However, if you have a hypermobile joint, you also compensate somewhere. So that's why I wanted to talk about this today, so that you can then assess if maybe somewhere you might also actually compensate, but not for tightness, stiffness, but rather for hypermobility. How do you assess hypermobility? First off, whatever we are going to look at the knees, your elbows, your hands, just because maybe you will find that one part of your body shows signs of hypermobility, that does not mean that you're overall hypermobile. However, if all the tests actually show that you have hypermobility, then probably overall in general, you might struggle just with hypermobility. What happens if really that is the case? You want to be working more on strength. You want to be working more on building muscle so that those muscles can actually help to stabilize the joints. So totally contrary to what we normally work on, that is like more flexibility, more stretching to bring more space into the joints. In case really indeed you find yourself having signs of hypermobility, then you actually want to be focusing on building strength, building muscle. That is what is going to stabilize the joints. First off, let's focus on the hands. If you can take your thumb and bring it all the way to your forearm here, I cannot, but like this, or like this, you might be a little bit hypermobilized. Same goes for your pinky finger. If you can, take it all the way, I don't know if you see that, all the way to your forearm here, then again, hypermobility might be your case. But it might also just be in your wrists. Shoulders. In case you can bring your hands together and, bring your arms back behind you, like totally down. Hypermobile shoulders. I cannot do that, but I'm sure you have seen those different, mostly dancers, I've seen them doing that, or people who just really can, contort their bodies. If they can do that, then that means hypermobile shoulders, you might want to be working actually on strengthening your shoulders. Hips. If you can easily do your frog. What is your frog? You bring your knees to the sides, feet right there. You start in your tabletop basically, and then you start sliding your knees, your feet down to the side, dropping your hips down towards the floor. Once again, I cannot go all the way down to the floor, but if you really can drop totally, then you probably might have hypermobile hips and you might want to be working on strengthening your thighs, your glutes. Last, knees. If locking your knees, really straightening your legs, straightening your knees, pulling up your patella up, lift your heels off the floor, kind of like the typical ballerina legs that almost kind of go like in a C shape, banana shape, then you might have a little bit of hypermobility then in your knees. In sum, what do you do if you find that a joint in your body might be a little bit more on the looser end? Whenever you're supposed to straighten that limb, and whenever you're supposed to straighten your legs, whenever you're supposed to straighten your arms. I forgot actually to tell you about elbows. Test for elbows. Tabletop. I'm gonna face you right now so that you can really see hands underneath your shoulders. And if I right now really straighten my elbows, my elbow creases point forward towards you. That's a sign of hypermobility. If you look from the side, you might see it a little bit, that basically there is a little bit of an arch in the arm. It's not straight. Now finally, we're getting to what do you do if you find yourself that you have a little bit of hypermobility or a little bit too much space in your joint. You need to bend that joint until your limb is straight. So if it's about the elbows, once again, in your tabletop, straight elbows, for me that looks like this. And if it looks like this for you as well, you will need to micro bend your elbows and turn your arms until your elbow creases are facing each other. That might mean a little bit more of inner rotation. So this is how, for example, if you're going in your tabletop exercises or in your planks, you want to be focusing on micro-bending your knees, micro-bending your elbows and turning them a little bit more inward so that you're not overextending. Why? You want to always stack your joints on top of each other. And if you overextend, your joints are not necessarily aligned, you're unnecessarily putting pressure on your joints, it's over time not going to feel great. So micro-bending brings the elbows in line with in between your shoulder and your wrist. And at the same time, micro-bending means that you will have to engage a little bit more of your muscle, okay? It's not like, and that's where you also start building strength, stability, and just more stability in the joint. For your knees, and I have seen people who would overextend their knees even if, for example, they struggle with hip mobility. What do? Once again, locked knees, for me it looks like this. I might need to micro bend my knees for my legs to be straight. Let me show you standing. If I totally overextend my knees like this, you probably see that there's a little bit too much of a banana shape. What it also does, that it automatically tilts my pelvis forward. Right now my pelvis is in an anterior tilt. That's not great for my back. So what I actually really need to do, again, it's unlock my knees, micro bend them, then I have the freedom to also position my pelvis where I need it to be. And from here, my joints are aligned. I have much better alignment and much better force if I need to lift anything from the floor. Deadlift, for example. So this would be a very quick explainer how to deal with your hypermobility in case you find that maybe your knees, maybe your elbows, or maybe your shoulders actually are a bit more on the hypermobile and the looser end. Let me know which joints you might need to work actually on strengthening and bringing stability. And all in all, thank you for tuning in this video, and I'll see you in the next one.